Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I am your host, Saucy McFoodlefist, and today we are continuing the letter. It's a little bit weird, it's a little bit sacrilegious because we started this at the beginning of Spooky Month and we're getting close to Thanksgiving here in America. But anyways, let's get started. The rest of the evening passes without further event, though we don't stay long after. Some plans were made for after the movie the night before, but they're mostly Isabella's suggestions, and with her absent, there isn't much point to it there, is there? We'll just have to find some other time, preferably when everyone's in a better frame of mind. Certainly not when the rest of us are exhausted, have things nagging at the back of our minds, or this emotionally drained. The little disagreement with Ashton feels like a warning sign already, and it's not a line I'm willing to test tonight. Sometimes there are just things you can't simply force. A sentiment we all likely share at the moment, if the silence before we part ways tells us anything. Even Zachary seems reluctant to break it.
Well, it was fun, despite, you know... But, really, thanks for staying, you two.
Don't mention it. It's the least we can do.
Nah, I owe you both. Especially you. You sure you don't want payment for all that history checking you did?
Quite sure. Oh, you know what? On second thought, just save it for when you win an award. Treat us someplace nice or something.
I doubt it'll go that far.
Oh, please. Think positive for once.
I hear you, ma'am. I hear you.
Then put some back into it.
It's really too early to say, but here's hoping, I guess. We'll see. Anyhow, I'm off. Got some new photography gig lined up in the next few days. But just call me anytime you guys want to hang out. Sketch should be easy to free up for some R&R now. How about you, Ash? You coming with?
We both glance his way, though mine probably comes off sharper, more scrutinizing. He hasn't said a word since we left the theater, his eyes completely glued to his phone as soon as the movie ended. Typical. He doesn't even spare me a look when he slides his phone back into his pocket and answers.
Oh, yeah. I need to double check something with the guys at the precinct.
Same way then. You gonna be fine on your own, Rebecca?
My car's parked just a block away from here. It should be an easy walk. But both of you should get going if you're in a hurry.
Right. Drop us a message when you get home. And that thing with Isabella too when you get a chance to see her. See ya.
Yeah, I will. Be careful, you two. Bye.
They leave without a backwards glance. But besides my own exhaustion and the strong desire to go home, I remain on the same spot for some scant seconds still, watching them, trying to figure out where to go from here, as if the answer can be found in their retreating backs. If Zachary hasn't mentioned Isabella again, I probably would have forgotten about his request. I would have simply left the anger to subside until we can pretend like nothing happened. When I finally crossed the street, long after they disappeared behind the evening crowd, I only have one choice in my mind. She's not answering, though. I let it ring for another second more before making a swipe at the screen and dropping the call. I don't bother stopping myself from releasing a loud sigh at this time, long and weary, heavy with every frustration of my body today. By this hour, she's probably already back home, and it's very likely she's holed up herself in her apartment. I won't be surprised. She's done it before, very much like a kid throwing a tantrum.
I just don't understand her sometimes.
I don't understand why she can't get a hint, why she doesn't think she's being ridiculous. Why, of all people, we're the ones that have to play some dumb Halloween prank on. Granted, Ashen's the one who started it, but did she think it'd be a good idea to go with that story?
It makes you wonder why we're friends, but here we are.
Now I'm left to fix things after her. I'm going to be honest, not having her around for a few hours today is a welcome break. Peace and quiet is one thing you'll rarely get with her around. Yet the silence and her lack of presence is nowhere near comforting. It merely lends the air this strange clarity, every little sound, every single moment more palpable. With it comes the unease. It hasn't really left me this afternoon, and against everything I've wished for today, I find myself yearning for an interruption and to dial her number again. And frustrating as today is, I can use a friendly voice. It rings for a good minute or two, until just when I'm beginning to think she's not going to answer this either, the line picks up.
Belle, hey! I'm just checking on you. I'm on my way home. Is there something you want me to pick up for you? You probably skipped dinner, didn't you? Don't worry, that diner a block away is still open. Want me to buy you anything from there?
Oh no.
Isabella?
What? A jolt of surprise hits me, and in the resulting panic, I accidentally dislodge my mobile from the seat on the dashboard. Soon, I'm scrambling blindly for it with my other hand while keeping a steady eye on the road ahead. Although muffled heavily by the surface, a voice still crackles from the loudspeakers before I can pick it back up. My temper rises.
What's this? Some sort of practical joke? Isabella, if you think this is funny...
My hand stops dead for a moment. I spare the device a brief glance, waiting. Seconds pass. Nothing happens, though. Frankly, I'm not sure what I'm expecting, but the lines of my mouth form into a frown regardless.
Isabella? Is everything all right over there?
I have to make a conscious effort not to panic right then and there, although my tight hold on the steering wheel tells a different story altogether.
Isabella? Belle? Hey, Belle, what happened?
Only a burst of static answers me, and... maybe this lapse is entirely because of exhaustion. It has been a long day, and I fully recovered from last week's bout of the flu, contrary to what people have been telling me, or what I've been telling people. And just to clarify with me personally, the narrator, hello, this is your humble narrator, I have a little bit of a cold myself, so I can feel myself being stuffy, so if my narration sucks, I'm sorry. Though perhaps, had I paid closer attention to it, had I not been so occupied with other thoughts, I probably would have noticed earlier that it never came from my phone, but from somewhere right behind me. Oh, interesting. Time slows to a crawl. Looking up is a mistake. The first thing I see is a face, a ghastly shade, every inch battered, bruised, and bloodied. Even in the darkness, the world passing by in a blur of lights outside, I still make out the wounds. Blood still oozes from it, little trails of crimson running down my face, glistening under what little light there is. But it is the gleam in its eye that catches mine. The quiet plea, the anguish, the desperation in them, more than its hideous features, an awful stench of gore now soaking the air. And try as I might, I can't bring myself to look away, even as its lips comfort into a horrific smile, even as a sharp, harsh noise pierces the air and the silence around us. Against everything I've been taught and constantly reminded myself, I close my eyes. It's a brief moment, a short, vivid second of muscle memory and instinct completely taking over. And if I didn't allow it, if my hands didn't move, or if my feet didn't hit the brakes in that exact second, I might have. No. I shake the notion away before I lose myself in it. Lose yourself in the moment, the music. Right now, it's an ugly line of thought I refuse to venture into. Not when breathing is a struggle and every ounce of strength has been totally drained from my body. Most definitely not while the sound of screeching tires still rings in my ears. I'm alive. I'm safe. That's all that matters. But it is not my face that I look for when I finally open my eyes. All gone. I expected stains, little telling marks and creases on the covers to show me where it sat not a second ago. But whatever it is, it left not a single trace. And although courage is a hard thing to gather at this point, I take what little of it I have remains in me and turn towards the back seat. Even then, there's none. Was there really something going on in there? With how empty it is, I'm beginning to doubt it. The stupid flu again.
I need a long rest after this.
Yeah, blame the flu, Rebecca. My hands fall uselessly to my sides, numb from how taut my grip on the wheel has gone, yet trembling from the unexpected rush of adrenaline. Against my ears, my heart still pounds an erratic rhythm, and my breathing hasn't slowed down. But the world has already righted itself without waiting for me, and little by little, seconds after seconds, as I sit here motionless, color begins to seep back around me. Along with it are the sounds of a voice, no longer indistinct as it was earlier.
Becca, how do you press this button? You've already started recording!
Her voicemail.
Oh, okay. Thanks. Let's see. Hello there. Isabella Santos here. Sorry you missed me. Just leave a message after the beep, and I'll get back to you soon. Thank you. Shut up, Ashton.
I wasn't gonna say anything.
I can hear you thinking about it. Zach, Ashes.
Alright, kids, settle down before you break anything.
The recording is old, made early in our friendship, roughly 3 or 4 years ago probably. I can't remember now. I'm more surprised Isabella kept this when she could have easily replaced it. But then again, little things like this, no matter how imperfect they may seem, are what made her the happiest. A fond smile slips into my lips before I know it. I allow it to, despite the headache already forming at my sides, the sides of my head, and every negative thought still swimming inside. When at last I speak, my tone is as light as it can be.
Hey, Belle. I know you're in there. I'm on my way home. If you need anything, send me a message ASAP. I'll see if I can still get it for you. You've got 15 minutes. And, if there's something you want to talk about, let me know, okay? Bye.
The phone call ends with a faint click and a pensive mood washes over me. With it comes a small truth. Her stay has always been meant to be something fleeting. Earn some good money, go home. It's what she'd tell herself during her first year here. Now, half a decade later, I'm not sure she still believes that. Even I'm not sure I still believe it. With all these ill feelings I carry with me, I'm more inclined to think that there's something in her reasons that has changed along the way. There's merely hunches, but it's something I'd rather not bring up, because I'm almost too afraid of what her answer will be. The silence is far from a pleasant company for the rest of the drive, but it's a respite all the same, from an overactive imagination playing tricks on a flu-addled mind, and from smiles never meant for my eyes. All of them I abandoned, if only for a brief moment. October 24th, Monday. It begins normally enough.
Isabella, I don't have time for this. Open up!
Or as normal as shouting outside her room could get this early in the evening. On a Monday, no less. This isn't how I want to start my week, but here I am, trying not to make a fool of myself in front of anyone who happens to pass by. I'm not even sure if the landlady's home yet, and I sure hope not. She won't like this ruckus. I almost said fuckus. But it's not like we haven't had an argument before. We have, plenty of times. There's that one time with the groceries and another time that has something to do with her mess in her room. Sometimes it has to do with my eating habits or her eating habits. There's also one of the movie's houses a few days ago, but we got that resolved pretty uneventfully. Or so I'd like to believe. She seemed to be in a good mood when she asked us all out for that little celebratory treat. Anyway, the point is, we didn't go through 5 years worth of being friends without having a little argument here and there. Granted, it can go pretty petty at times, but none of them has pushed either of us to end our friendship. Yet. Although, at most of them, does end up with her sulking in her room until I pull her out of it. A child through and through. This morning, however...
You're still not going to believe me, even if someone else already died, no?
There really comes a point where you need to smack some sense into some people. It's murder. The authorities said so. And yet she's still going on about a Halloween prank like it's a bloody letter, like it's that bloody letter's fault.
It's a piece of paper, Isabella. What can a piece of paper do? Give you a paper cut? I swear, you can be so frustrating at times.
That knock is unsettling. I know Rose is a close friend to her, but she's doing her death a huge disservice by being like this. Taking out my mobile, I dial her number, and sure enough, her own rings from the other side of the door. I don't hang up in case something possesses her to answer, or she's just sleeping, but I've been going at this for 15 minutes now. If she didn't hear me after that, she sure as hell is ignoring me. On purpose.
Isabella, I know you're in there. Can you please stop this nonsense? You're acting worse than my students when they're throwing a tantrum. You're not a kid anymore.
A minute. And another. And I'm ending the call while fishing out a copy of her key from my bag and unlocking the door. She lent it years ago after I complained about the mess and offered to help clean it up. I thought the gesture was completely unnecessary then. After all, I could always knock. But she never did bother taking it from me, always returning it or turning away from the conversation whenever I insist. At one point, I simply stopped trying to hand it back to her. Good thing I did. Now her stubbornness is coming in handy. For once, she did something right. Miracles of miracles, isn't it?
Isabella, I'm coming in and we are going to talk.
Without warning for her answer, I push the door open and march inside. Her lights are off. Although the telly is running, it merely gives the room a dim glow. Dimmer than it used to be, in fact, mainly due to its age. She bought the set from a secondhand store nearby. It has been with her since. She's living here, though she doesn't really watch anything on it. Even on the weekend, she doesn't seem to have any use for it. It's just for background noise, so the place wouldn't be as quiet as if she's working at home. She told me before how much she misses the clamor of the city, and here in Salem, well, it's just quiet everywhere. That silence bothered her more than anything new and unfamiliar that she encountered in her first year here. If the rent isn't cheap, she probably would have moved away. It's an odd side of hers, but there are worse ones.
Like when she's moping.
I find her sitting at her work desk, bent over her papers and folders littering the top, nose almost touching the papers she's working on. On one end, I can make out a silhouette of a stack of empty noodle cups, though I fully expect the urge to wrinkle my nose at the sight. Her cleaning habits are also the least of my concerns right now. I can reprimand her later for it. But first, we talk and put an end to those silly misconceptions she's been feeding her mind.
We need to talk about this letter nonsense.
She doesn't answer. She doesn't move. She's giving me the silent treatment because I won't buy into her little horror story. Just the thought of it irks me and prods at me. My already short temper. And when each second passes, it grows even shorter.
Isabella, I know you're busy. I'll let you go back to your work once we sort this out. You can't keep going on like this.
Still no response, and slowly frustration begins to seep into my tone.
Why must you always be so difficult?
Then, anger.
I'm telling you to listen to me! Oh, will you face me? I'm talking to you, Isabella!
Without warning, I've given her ample number of those. I'm marching across her room, each of my stride brisk and heavy with purpose, when I'm not stepping on the apparent wet mess that forces my whole body to freeze. Rather, it's the sudden smell permeating in the air. Bitter, sharp, thick enough to cut through it and almost taste it. My hand hastily goes to cover my nose, but even then, the acrid smell still reeks. Like the smell of iron reacting to the skin when rubbed. Like blood. My gaze shifts to Isabella's back, her head still bent over the table, unmoving. In this light, I can't get a good look at her, but I know for sure she won't simply leave a puddle here, but when she's working on papers, she could accidentally spill on. A puddle of what, though? I don't want to make any hasty judgments despite what my mind screams at me. It could be anything. There could be a leak somewhere or whatever. But despite what I tell myself, fear easily worms its way into my voice when I call out for her again.
Isabella?
Something heavy lodges itself in my throat.
Belle?
The sound of my heartbeat thrashes against my ears.
Belle? Answer me. Please.
With a trembling hand, I reach for her shoulder, and as gently as I can, I turn her around. My heart stops. I knew this was going to happen. A chill runs down my spine. Every edge corner in the room suddenly goes sharp. I can't breathe. And before I know it, my horrified scream ripples through the air. Alright, we are going to end the episode off there. Thank you all so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye, everyone.